Welcome into another edition of the Kevin and Jason Show. I'm your host, Kevin Masseri, here with Jason Shannon. Going to do a pretty easy and nice show today on the Giants game. It's going to be Bills-Giants here, 1 p.m. from New Jersey. So we'll be getting into that game. We've got some matchups we like, some players we like, and some news. Real quick at the top of the hour, news did drop of Terrell Dodson's 6-game suspension. Brandon Beane said there's no gray area there in that he did plead to a misdemeanor of some type of disorderly conduct, no DV charge there, and there's just no denying that that's a 6-game within the personal conduct policy. So if there was DV involved, domestic violence, there would be a longer suspension, or he put it, it'd be a different team discussion. So I think the team feels good about Terrell Dodson. But that's the main news coming out of today. Jason, how you doing today?
I am good. I am looking forward to a second straight week at MetLife Stadium. Not me personally, but the Buffalo Bills. And just a quick fun fact that I saw on Twitter today, because the internet never lies. 3 teams have already won 2 straight road games against the Jets and Giants in a row. All 3 of those teams made the playoffs. So
ever? Is that like an ever stat?
Yeah, I believe that we're the 8th team to ever play the Jets and the Giants at that stadium in consecutive weeks. And 3 teams have won both games. We could be the 4th, and those 3 previous teams all made the playoffs. So,
okay, it's 2 road wins. I'm
going to call it causation.
Yep, 2 road wins.
You have to imagine that, like, if you took any random team and said that they won 2 road games in a row, they probably had a decent percentage of making the playoffs.
Yeah, because A, it could mean they're good. B, it means they have 8 more home games.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign. This game's pretty interesting. Usually, the Bills are dogs, especially going into New York. This time they are 2.5 point favorites. So Giants fans, I saw some reaction from them, but they're finally worse than the lowly Bills. I saw a lot of that this coming week. At their home opener, they're dogs to the perceived lower talent Buffalo Bills, but the team's not very good. I think we can start there. They have, I guess, the injury report's a good place to begin. Sterling Shepard has the concussion on Thursday, not looking great. He's got to really get some work in tomorrow to have a shot at that thing. I just saw Cody Latimer, their guy that they're going to lean on, go on the injury report. And are obviously already missing, their, I guess, highly paid receiver, that Golden Tate to suspension for 4 games there. So for not knowingly taking a supplement that he claims isn't a thing. So he did have to serve that 4 full games. So you're looking at a receiving core that could look like Benny Fowler, Russell Shepard, Cody Core, and TJ Jones, and Darius Slayton. You're talking about a potentially receiving core that was worse than the Bills at some point last year. They struggle mightily on the offensive side of the ball. They looked okay. Eli Manning threw for 300 yards. The Bills are, 9 straight games with a quarterback under 210? So we'll see if that continues there. The offense actually isn't as bad as what I think the defense is, Jason. It's not a very good defense. Dak Prescott was the player of the week, offensive player of the week last week, absolutely torched this terrible secondary. What are your initial thoughts of this matchup, or anything you've found interesting?
Yeah, I think you covered the generalities of it for sure. I think that the places to look are those receivers, and then also on the secondary, on the different sides of the ball. Obviously, the receivers are going to be depleted, though. Cody Latimer had a decent game last game. I didn't get a full watch of the game, but I saw the 40-minute condensed version or whatever against Dallas, because I was falling in and out of sleep of it at 4:00 on Sunday. So I've seen some plays twice. I've seen some plays not at all. But Benny Fowler was actually pretty decent in that game. I believe he caught all 5 of his targets in that game. Cody Latimer, a good athlete that hasn't really always put it together. But again, if he's hurt, Sterling Shepard, you never know with concussions. I think he's a pretty talented player, but even with all of those guys together, missing Golden Tate, that's not a particularly great receiving core. I think Eli Manning's going to have to pull out some magic to make those guys particularly effective, especially if you have Shepard gone. Evan Ingram was very good. They used him in the screen game a lot. He looks like he's just like a really good athlete. and led the entire league in first downs last week with 8. So he was really their main way of, moving the ball and manufacturing drives. So he's going to be a guy to watch out for of who we're going to put on him and how we're going to scheme him, because Evan Ingram and Saquon Barkley are going to be their biggest threats in the passing game. And even though Eli Manning has depleted in some of his physical characteristics, he's still got the mental there. Even if he's kind of still the same old Eli Manning, he had some plays that were boneheaded last week that, I don't think he ever solved, but he does know his way around a game. He has won 2 Super Bowls. That stuff hasn't completely lost him, and I'm sure he's positive. He knows who his best players are as far as that goes. And then in the secondary in this game, I'd love to be able to exploit it. I wasn't terribly confident in what I saw last week in terms of the passing game, but obviously we did get John Brown going in the end. They're pretty thin as far as depth goes. And then at safety, they have Jabril Peppers, who still hasn't fully put it together. And then DeAndre Baker, the rookie, I believe he lasted to the second round cornerback.
He's a first rounder.
Was he a first rounder?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. He was picked in like the 20s. He was really picked on last week, and I still think he might end up being a pretty decent player. He was one of my favorite cornerbacks in the draft, but Dallas really made sure to exploit him. And then Janoris Jenkins is that kind of guy that, sort of trick or treat, not necessarily has it all together anyways. I think their 3-man front's pretty decent, or at least has the potential to be decent with Delvin Tomlinson and Dexter Lawrence, the rookie. But, the linebackers, you're still relying on Alec Ogletree, who's one of the most hit or miss and formerly overrated players in the game. Obviously I just went through all of that, but they are, the kind of the point of all of that is that they are going to be relying on playing time from some rookies that just aren't really there yet. You might see some O'Shane Zimenez on the field. You might see some Julian Love playing at safety or maybe even in the slot. And those
and
guys.
Antoine Bethea still has a job too.
Antoine Bethea still has a job too. But yeah, they're going to really be relying on guys, a lot of draft picks, a lot of guys who haven't quite proven it yet or have proven to not be particularly great, because the roster is just so thin, and they're a thin roster that, as you had mentioned, have some untimely injuries and suspensions. So, in theory, we're the better team. We're the much, much, much deeper team. I think we're better on almost every level, but we are going to New Jersey to go play this game. So it's still a question mark, and I'm still worried about it. And I'm worried about the fact that if we do lose this game, I'm going to feel pretty bad about it, just like the Jets game, because I think we're better than both of these teams.
Yeah, it's funny because I think they're a Barkley injury away from being a 1-win team, 1 or 2-win team. Like if they, Barkley got hurt and they turned to Daniel Jones at some point soon, that's a 2-14 football team. I don't think they're very talented across the board. A couple more people not buying in and a couple more injuries, and this team is just in deep stuff. We should coin this game the David Sills battle. This is the revenge game for David Sills, who's on the practice squad of the Giants. He can't make this receiving core. I don't know if David Sills got a little way to go if he can't crack this with
Cody Core,
the TJ Jones signing, the Darius Slayton, Russell Shepard show, and then with the Latimer and Sterling Shepard being hurt. You can't crack this lineup. I don't know. Did sign with the right team though, Jason. Maybe he did select the Giants over the Bills. For this reason, look, you got Isaiah McKenzie and Robert Foster not even playing this Giants team. He could be playing as early as next week in a top 4. So probably, I don't know if he decided that, but it does seem like after the cut, he wanted to kind of stick it to Buffalo.
Well, if you were in training camp with all those guys and he was clearly I don't think he could have even delusioned his way into thinking he was better than the 8th receiver in that room. You just got to move on.
I thought he got beat by Cam Phillips.
And he became. Everybody except for maybe Nick Easley and Victor Bolden was probably ahead of him. For guys that you had to keep. And when you look around the league, I keep picking on them because we played them in the preseason. But Chad Beebe, is a starting slot receiver in the league, granted for a team that throws the ball 10 times a game apparently, but like that's a guy that's on a roster who has like very few career catches and really any sort of plaudits as a college or professional, and he's just an auto slot starter for a playoff team, like a possible like top 4 team. Like
They have like 2 of the best receivers in the league. They should just trade one of them then.
and there's nothing. They should just trade Adam Thielen to us for 3 receivers. Like we'll just give you whoever. Like
Right. Or like a draft pick, because clearly you throw the ball 10 times. So
yeah, I don't know if that's
don't they have to pay Diggs? Don't they have to pay Diggs?
I think they still do.
I think Thielen actually got his money. They might actually just trade Diggs. I wouldn't be shocked.
Diggs is a really interesting person to pay, but we're gonna get off track there.
Yeah, because
I mean,
we'll get into it during the trade deadline stuff.
The point is that there's just receiver cores that just really don't have the depth that ours does right now. Not that we're super spectacular on top, because we're not. I think we're good enough to be functional. I think we're better than a bunch of teams, but man, there's a lot of receiver spots to be had in the league, and so I'm not surprised that Sills left. And maybe
I'm not surprised the Bills
real hard on the sideline,
sitting on Robert Foster and Isaiah McKenzie either, because you can't cut those guys right now. I mean, those guys are making top 4 rosters, so you might as well have them as your 5th and 6th receivers right now.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are like 2nd, 3rd receivers for a lot of teams.
So it's good to have that asset and one injury, and you can plug those. I mean, Robert Foster gets plugged right in if John Brown, I guess, or Zay Jones, I don't know, go down. Isaiah McKenzie too. I mean, if you get an injury to the top guys, I mean, these guys are getting plugged in. Andre Roberts still hurt, and really weirdly timed quad injury, multi-week quad injury. I think he needs to practice tomorrow to go. Sean McDermott alluded to last week saying that he doesn't need to really practice that much. I'd like to get our Pro Bowl kick returner here in this game. He's a Pro Bowl returner and just faced an untimely quad injury.
He already missed one revenge game too.
Yeah, I love Micah Hyde to death. He's not the same. He made a couple errors in the punt return game.
I noticed from across the league, because again, I do watch an unhealthy amount of other teams, and other teams, I don't know if they're just not employing like experienced punt returners or whatever, but I saw so many guys catching fair catching inside the 4 this week. Like,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what I swear there must have been 20 punts that I saw caught inside the 10, and like lots of them like super like almost accidental touchback deep. And I don't know if it's just not something that people value anymore. Like, I understand not valuing kick returning really as much, if at all. But like I still think there's like a big use for an effective punt return. Not only somebody that is smart, that doesn't do stuff like that inside the 10, but also can get you real returns, because there's punts are still returnable. Like, I don't necessarily think that a punt catch, if you can get somebody above a punt catcher, I still think they can be really valuable assets. So that, I guess that's just something to watch. If that makes a difference in our team. And he was a Pro Bowler for a reason. I mean, his numbers were great. He was really effective.
Yeah, he was. He was a really good returner. I think what's funny, too, is that I don't know if it's where special teams coordinators just, like, really hate watching the other team down the ball in the 1, but they're really, like, gambling. They'd rather have the ball in the 4 than not take a risk. They just, like, can't stand it getting down at the 1 or something. It's that bad to them. I don't know. I think that's – why else would you do it? If you can't risk the 3 yards – you are fielding it at the 4, because you think that
the 1 stinks to be on. There is a big difference between the 1 and the 4, but I don't know, unless they're actually going to catch the ball, which is still difficult. Like the coverage team's going to catch the ball. It's really hard for a punt to just hit the 4 and stop before the goal line.
Right.
That just doesn't happen very much, no matter what kind of punter you have or what kind of spin they put.
Why were we stuck on the 1 on the safety? What happened there?
I'm actually trying to think about that. I was actually going to bring that up, and now I can't think of what put us there.
Did he not field the
3rd?
Well, there you go. There's proof that they field the ball at the 4, and you can get out of it. Josh Allen leads goes on the field. Sure. You get the ball at the 1, and you can win a safety on the first play. There you go, right there. Maybe their stats, they're smarter than we think, I think.
Well, I'm positive that they're smart and smarter than we think. But
fielding the ball in the 4, I mean, Micah Hyde went on air, I think, on the afternoon show and at WGR and said times are different where you don't just put your heels on the 10 and let it go. I mean, getting the ball on the 4 must have some statistical advantage then.
I just saw it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, it must, because I saw it in an abnormal amount. I don't know if like at this year's special team coaches convention, like they were like, we're catching it at the 4 this year. Like, I don't know, but that's certainly what it seemed like. So maybe I'm totally off base there, but my point still stands, even if I wasted a lot of time getting to it, which is I think that Andre Roberts could make a big difference. And it's something that we're not necessarily thinking about right now. So,
well, I mean, if he was going to rest 2 games, it would be these 2. So hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me there with that comment. But I think that that's true, that, if you have a guy back there competent like Hyde to punt it in, or fair, basically be a punt catcher, and then you have Isaiah McKenzie, who, if you're feeling risky, you can throw him back there, he showed some good stuff in the preseason, basically was the drafted version of Ray McLeod in terms of being a competitor of the guy that was just here for special teams, but has shown he can do it. He just fumbled a lot in Denver. Yeah. So we'll see.
Oh, Denver had a ton of belief in him. There was a lot of stuff.
Didn't he have like the 5 fumbles season?
And he really just fumbled his way out of a job. Like I really think they wanted to keep him, and they just couldn't do it at some point.
I think they thought that he had enough fumbles that they could sneak him onto their practice squad. I don't think they thought someone was claiming him, but our receiving corps was that bad last year.
It certainly was, and I feel good about that. But yeah, they really hyped him up for a while, and at some point, if you really like a kicker and he's just kicking the crap out of it in practice and making everything, and then he misses 6 field goals.
That's got to be Kaiir Vedvik. Like 3 teams have liked that guy now.
Oh yeah, and he was booming it. I think even like early preseason was like doing really well, but that's clearly a guy that like needs it to take a year off or something and figure out, because he's never going to make another field goal. Like he's completely mentally wrecked at this point, the way he missed.
Right.
Which again makes me feel really great to be a Stephen Hauschka owner, and why I'm totally fine with that. And we're one of 15 teams in the league right now that wouldn't probably release our kicker if he missed 2 kicks in a row. I don't want him to miss 2 kicks in a row, but there's like half of the league, if a guy went 1 for 3 in a game, they'd probably cut him. And the Jets are on that carousel right now on weekly kickers, and Chicago's on that carousel right now, where if they went 1 for 3, they got to go look for another one. And whatever his name, I forgot the guy's name, Sam Finnick. Sam is the Jets' new kicker.
Yeah, something like that.
He was like 2 for 6 in his lifetime for Green Bay 2 years ago, and I think got caught by the Rams this year or something. I could be just
Sam Ficken.
Ficken.
Good name. Sam Ficken.
It doesn't. I'm a big name guy. Doesn't feel like Sam Ficken is going to be the answer
to a kicking problem. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Hasn't really. I don't know, but if you want to talk about somebody who apparently doesn't care much about their special teams, it's the one that had the Pro Bowl kicker and Pro Bowl kick returner and let them both go.
Yeah,
because their roster was so good to do that. Which, by the way, a team with a freaking ton of money, enough money to pay C.J. Mosley like the second biggest linebacker contract ever.
Yeah, and might have been the only deal that made sense. I mean, he's a really good player.
He's also been really good, or he was for 36 players.
I don't know what the deal was, just signing him, and I guess they lost Anthony Barr, and just like Adam Gase is just up there, like not acting like he knows what's going on. Like almost like management was just like, yeah, we're losing this year. So this is kind of how the coach is acting. So, though along those lines of kind of the repercussions of that Bills-Jets game, we saw the Bills come up relatively healthy. Taron Johnson limited, or was he out of practice? Was he
today?
Out? Yeah,
he's still out.
He's still out. Okay, okay, so he's out. So that means we're going to have a week, a pretty much standard week of Siren Neal, and didn't sign anybody. This, what's really crazy to me, Jason? They haven't made a single move. Just after being convinced that they would make 2 or 3 like they do, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
They finagled the practice squad with one Nate Becker was signed back to the practice squad, a tight end Nate Becker from the offseason. And they released the linebacker from Dallas that they had. But other than that, they've made no moves anywhere on the roster. So
who's interesting real quick?
Who?
Is Aaron Colvin getting
Oh
released?
yeah, I was
Who
all over.
had a pretty reasonably good career, got a big contract, definitely got cut by it. I mean, Bill O'Brien definitely proved a point by cutting it, but he was an absolute disaster in his year in a game with the Texans, but is a guy who previously has played well in the slot before in his career. Um, so he could be an interesting release, a guy to look at, or we could go back to Cam Lewis on the practice squad eventually, or Mullen, or whoever. But right now, it does seem like we're not going to opt to do that. I guess we really have a day to do that if we're gonna, right?
Yep, I think so. I just
If not, I mean, just roll with Neal. But it was interesting because at that moment, I don't think we had mentioned Levi Wallace, looking like he might have been hurt in practice, but looks like he's fine now. But, for a second there, we were really just down to White, Kevin Johnson, and Neal, right? Like,
yeah.
that would have been a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this week, obviously, you're going to make one of those safeties active just for more coverage, whether it's Dean Marlowe or Jaquan Johnson. I hope it's Johnson. You've already proven that you don't need Marlowe for special teams. So if you're looking for someone certainly just for defense, I hope they go Jaquan Johnson. I don't think Taron Johnson is playing too much teams to where you would have needed Dean Marlowe to be the active guy. So I hope we see a little bit of Jaquan Johnson and they get an extra body there at the safety position. But, I mean, they're going to go in with just 4 active cornerbacks, one being Siren Neal. And, just due to the Taron Johnson news, hope he's back sooner rather than later. And them not making a move this week proves to me might be another short-term injury. So that's really good to hear, as well as, still relatively healthy across the board. I think it also proves that you can't really sign anyone on a Friday. So I don't know. I think Levi Wallace was okay, or I think you would have saw a quarterback signing here this afternoon. Definitely, especially with your starting 2 and 3 corner out. I mean, this is the week to have them out, Jason, right?
Yeah, you would think so. If you had to take a chance and gamble on any week, it would be against this
The team with Cody Core.
Yeah, the Cody Core team. I mean, you still do need bodies to cover guys, but yeah, this would be the game where I might load up with some extra safeties or
Yeah, but it's the game where you can go Trey on their best player, Kevin Johnson, who's shown to be more than capable so far, and Siren Neal. I mean, those are still 3 pretty decent cornerbacks.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to what they do formationally that you would have.
Right. You're not trying out Philip Gaines again and Lafayette Pitts and Justin Rogers.
No, but you are, you're only one signing away from that maybe needing to happen. If you felt the need for 4, but it does stand to reason that they only ran 3 cornerbacks all game, last game. They ran the same, basically, when they were healthy, the same 3 cornerbacks and 2 safeties. For the majority of the game was really their formation of that nickel. So,
right.
So I guess they don't see that as necessary. I would say, like, hey, we'd sign somebody just in case somebody gets hurt during the game or whatever, but it's like that guy would just end up getting, DNP'd anyways, and the 7 guys that have to sit. So, yeah, I mean, we'll probably just hold there, and I'm sure they have a contingency plan as far as Jaquan Johnson or whoever that would have to slide.
Yeah, I mean, you could always call up Cam Lewis on Saturday.
Call up Cam Lewis. So
if they needed to, if you saw Cam Lewis sign, I mean, he's a guy that's the Bills are claiming that they're going to use his practice squad the right way. So we'll see. I mean, the first guy in this position group would be Cam Lewis, unless you can get a guy. I think it needs to be at least of Aaron Colvin level to justify not calling up signing another young player doesn't speak volumes of your practice squad. I think that does matter to this team when you have a guy missing at this position, or a couple of guys now that, the guy you're going to call up is the guy that you promised that earned a spot in the preseason to be on your 10-man practice squad. Same thing if defensive end, you would call up Eddie Yarbrough, receiver, you call it Duke Williams, whatever.
Yeah, so in practice squad's 4 is just like this. So
it's not just, the Bills are not trying to use it as a squad to they're just 10 guys that are on the squad all year that you're just, basically, for lack of a better term, they're punt guys. They're guys you have back there to bring back to camp next year. No, I think the Bills are finally using this. Our roster was that deep to where maybe in a different circumstance, 5, 6, 7 of these guys would make this team. Duke Williams, Eddie Yarbrough. which should have.
Another year, yeah,
Pecco,
sure.
any other year would make the team. Davis Webb's been on teams. Cam Lewis, showed enough that maybe he makes a team. So Vincent Taylor was on the Dolphins. So there are some names there that you could conceivably make the roster that aren't just training camp 2020 guys. So Cam Lewis would be the guy that would be called up here if anything, was needed. I think he can step in, at least provide depth there. So we'll see. You don't make that move unless you have him active on game day either. There's no need to make a roster move. Right. That's the other thing. I think the Bills are protecting this roster, Jason. I don't think that there's a lot of guys they really want to cut. I mean, you got the extra safety and you got the extra offensive lineman, whether it's McDermott or it's pretty much Connor McDermott.
I think there's a couple guys you could do it with, but it's probably the linemen and then Dean Marlowe, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really the usual suspects.
Yep.
I don't see any reason. I mean, we said it before, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't let Connor McDermott go. But
the offensive line's bad across the league for whatever reason. They feel like they'd rather have him as the 9th, 10th lineman than risk him on the practice squad.
Experience there might be valuable, but they already have 2 starting right tackles moving back and forth. Ryan Bates is a guy that can play the position. I don't know, but at the same time, I'm not going to quibble over the 53rd guy on the roster at this point. Now, the guys that we released are released, so
right, yeah. The only debate I would have is that the 10th lineman, the 3 that are being inactive, you might need to put something into that cornerback spot. That's all I think I'm saying.
I think we're thin at that position at this point, and. But it was interesting, and obviously not every game plan is going to be similar, but we already saw, even if with the guys who dressed last week, there's plenty of guys that really didn't play that much. And I know that, a lot of them worked in on special teams, but when you're just talking about your offense and defense, we didn't really utilize Foster much. We really didn't utilize McKenzie at all. Yeldon, obviously, backup lineman other than that switcheroo in the right tackle position. Jaquan Johnson didn't play defense. Kevin Johnson didn't play a snap on defense. Really, the only place where there was heavy rotation at all was defensive line.
Everywhere else they go.
Even linebacker. The 2 starters played 100%, and then Lorenzo played, I think, only 30% of the snaps, if I remember correctly. Corey Thompson, Julian Stanford, Mo Alexander didn't see the field, so.
Right.
They played a pretty thin lineup there, so it's kind of like I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I'm dying to bring up, if it matters, to bring up Duke Williams or bring up Cam Lewis if those are guys that are going to, even if they are active, not really play a huge role. Why even mess around with it, I guess.
So the defense has been pretty good. Do you have a Jason's least favorite player, JLFP?
A JLFP on the. Are we talking the defense?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Are we just talking about last week's performance, or just in general?
You could tie that in, but no.
It sounds like you're leaning towards a person. I think Neil could get better.
Okay.
It was his first time playing slot in there. I thought he was obviously exploited a little bit due to the Jets' insistence to get the ball to Jamison Crowder, which they targeted him 17 times or whatever. Clearly made that a plan, but he also didn't really shred us. I mean, we really just kind of allowed them to continue to have a really conservative plan. I thought the rest of the defense was pretty good. Okay. I thought there's multiple guys on the defensive line that I don't really think are anything special, and I thought all of them performed pretty well as things came out, especially the 2 players. I won't mention that. I mean, Trent Murphy and Jordan Phillips, I thought both had pretty good games. I was actually surprised at how much that they played Trent Murphy.
A lot of people I think Joe B said he was the best player on the defense. I thought I saw that.
I mean, he definitely makes use, he's not a dynamic player, but he really makes use of his length and his power. It is something he just has a rare physical stature, even compared to defensive ends. And with him moving like an uninjured person at this point, I don't think he's by any means a 10-sack guy or anything, but he might be, a 7.5 with a lot of effort and, just kind of sucking up guys that quarterbacks get pushed into him from the speed rushes of Jerry Hughes and Ed Oliver and all of that. Just being a physical force, he's probably going to be able to reap the benefits from it. But I thought Shaq Lawson was good too. I thought he made a really good use of the 20 or so odd snaps that he got in this game, which felt lower. It was lower than it felt like. He felt like he was on the field a lot because I think he was making a lot of plays and making good use of his time at that point. So I don't know. It's hard to have a JLFP if the defense plays so well. It's I don't know.
The
JLFP probably didn't see the field. Probably didn't cheer hard enough for his teammates.
Was it an offensive guy for you, or no? There's no right now. There's no JLFP. Okay.
Yeah, it should always be a JLFP. I'll tell you what. Cole Beasley's a week away from being in the doghouse.
Okay.
You got to start catching the ball because it really is. You have to do it because he just doesn't have breakaway speed or anything that's a game breaking ability. And I see guys on our team and maybe obviously Robert Foster doesn't play his position, but is a guy I like seeing on the field. But certainly Isaiah McKenzie, he's not the route runner that Beasley is, but getting the ball in his hands definitely creates sort of a game breaking situation. So
he made some good plays in the preseason. Yeah, I mean, Cole Beasley, it's like he got in his own head after that bobble throw in the air pick six. He was like really good for the first quarter.
They got him the ball a lot. They've even in the preseason games, it's pretty clear that they want to almost force to establish that, and it's worked. And he gets open. He just doesn't provide much. Again, he only had 2 first downs out of those catches, out of his 9 targets in the game. He's getting targeted 4 yards and he's getting 6, and those are useful plays every once in a while. But it's a really long time to rely on Josh Allen to just go for 4 or 6 yards on throws,
right?
Without really much of a threat of breaking something. And it really his chance for a big play was the one that he dropped over the shoulder, and that was disappointing. And I do believe in him, but yeah, again, Dallas wants to run this whole new offense, and they really weren't that interested in bringing him back. And he made that pretty obvious that they weren't that interested in him, and he wasn't that interested in them. So I don't know if there's something there, but you really just want to see a wide receiver step up that's not John Brown. That's number one.
Okay.
And Zay Jones and Cole Beasley got a lot of time on the field with pretty mediocre production. So
now Kevin's least favorite player, pretty obviously, I think. It's not Neal. I think he can. I actually like this defensive backfield as much as I've ever in Buffalo. So there's that. Yeah. There's not a real player. Like I think Dean Marlowe is useless, but I don't think there's a single player beside that. And I'll even give him that. I don't mind safety special teamers. That's where I'll allow that. I don't want running back special teamers, but I'll allow that if that's the reason. One injury, then you plug him in on the teams, fine. So I'm not going to hate on Dean Marlowe, and I'm not going to hate on Siren Neal. He's developing. I thought he played that pass for the 2-point conversion, which could have mattered really terribly. The ball was in the air, just like thrown in the air and just like lofted, sat up there like a can of corn. And just, I don't know how you play that. It's worse than that, but that's okay. And I don't think he was particularly good, given the circumstances, but I think he's got the talent and the physical tools. So not my least favorite player at this point. He could always develop into that. Mine's Jordan Phillips. I don't like the guy. I think he needs to make more plays. Just $4.5 million. If you needed to re-sign him as a priority, re-signing. 4th defensive lineman, defensive tackle, that cap number. I know we have cap, but that's, I am looking at the value per position called WAR and my Kevin's WAR, financial WAR. Don't like it. I don't think I saw enough from him. Jason, you mentioned you liked what Trent Murphy, obviously you saw from him, but you also said Jordan Phillips. Was there something certain you liked from him, or
he was just better against the run the second time I saw it?
Okay.
I thought he contributed. He's just not, it's almost a shock when you see Ed Oliver play that position and then you go to him and he's just not the same type of penetrating player. I think you can be pretty stout against the run if you have him next to Starr, but I thought Harrison Phillips was better than Jordan Phillips, but I thought it was sort of splitting hairs there. I thought he was fine. You know, he missed making that play on that fourth down play. He made the initial
Got to
stop.
make that play. It's got to make that play.
You should make that play.
You're in for run stopping.
I also think that it was like one of the best, 3 running backs in the league he was trying to tackle, and it was unfortunate that he didn't make that play, and he made the first step to the play. There's a lot of guys that don't fake you out into making you think that they're going to make that play, but Bell ended up getting the push and extending the drive, and it was a big moment. So I thought he was okay. Okay enough for a 4th defensive tackle.
I thought he was PFF's last rated guy last year too. It's not like he just
last year he wasn't very good. I mean, they didn't grade him out well. I don't think he particularly did anything special, but I'll give him another chance here.
That's fine.
He was pretty firmly entrenched into this team. I don't know. They seem to like him a lot. So, I think he's good for your 4th defensive tackle. I don't know if he's what he gets paid good. Those are 2 different things. But I think he's going to remain to be a healthy part of the rotation. So, we'll see. I got bigger qualms with other players, but he could be back on the list.
Okay.
He's not immune.
Okay.
But, I mean, if I'm going to criticize anybody on the defensive line, it's usually going to be him and Trent Murphy. So, but I think they both passed my test for this week. So
good.
Hopefully they beat up on a Giants offensive line that's okay.
I think that the offensive line of the Giants is pretty poor. I don't think it meshes well more than like individual talent. I watched back that game. I watched it live.
They have decent.
Barkley makes everything he makes. They're decent one, guys. Zettler looked hurt at one point. Mike Remmers has never really impressed me. They paid a lot of money to Nate Solder. Solder's
been pretty disappointing for them so far. And
definitely. Will Hernandez has been
it's been okay.
Not as Quentin Nelson as they thought he might be.
Yeah, well, whoever guessed that was wrong. Or was definitely way too much, but he's probably going to be a solid starter. But you're in your offensive line, and this probably applies like pretty closely to the Bills. Like, you really just need average out of all the positions. Your team with 2 Pro Bowlers and 2 civs are going to be worse than your team with 1 really good lineman and 4 league average ones,
Right.
They all matter. So, they didn't do much for Eli in that game against Dallas. Dallas has a very good defense, a pretty hype defense, but they didn't really pass their first test there. I mean, the thing is that this Giants offensive line, in truth, like, isn't very good, but like with the offensive lines in the league, like, it still might be the 11th worst. I mean, there are some offensive lines that are going to be historically bad this year, which is all a good reason to, bring in 8 free agents who are worth having NFL jobs.
Well, we're one injury away from getting to see. I mean, there's no depth here either. Not that these teams have offensive line depth. I think the Bills are in a good spot maybe. But, I mean, you have Chad Slade and Nick Gates. We're like an injury away from seeing Gates and Slade right side of the line.
I can't, I don't watch them in the preseason, so maybe Nick Gates and Chad Slade are their,
it's really good name.
They're Ike Boker.
Maybe.
Better.
I mean, probably.
I guess against it, but honestly, if Chad Slade was like ripping up stuff in camp as a right tackle, I wouldn't know. I don't know anything about Chad Slade. I can go and look up stuff about Chad Slade, but I really couldn't tell you the first thing about.
Yeah, I mean, Ike Butker is like our 9th and the Connor McDermott's are 10th, but they're not. They're going to see the field, right, behind guys that are actually provide NFL depth. So I mean, a lot of teams are in trouble with an injury. It's kind of like a faux pas, or whatever. But they're specifically, I mean, they can't afford a single guy not playing on offense. Like, I mean, that's even, including like Wayne Gallman in this. They can't like afford a single injury to that offense because it is like hanging by a thread. Defensively too, like one good, the good players that they do have, and there's not a ton of them on defense. Like
I mean, they would really hurt with a
who's their best
linebacker
defensive
injury.
player? Who's their best defensive player?
I don't know. Delvin Tomlinson, maybe.
Yeah, their nose tackle, maybe.
Their nose tackle, probably.
They got zero. Like I heard Giants got today say they just have zero pass rush, zero.
Yeah,
like they can't.
They really haven't done anything to. I mean, that's honestly what happens when you take Delvin Tomlinson, a nose tackle with a high second, and then spend 17 or whatever it was on Dexter Lawrence,
same player,
not going to provide you anything as far as that goes. And then you're relying on guys like Marcus Golden, who have kind of worked their way into some decent sack seasons, but nobody seemed to be that interested in. Even Lorenzo Carter on the other side was never a huge pass rushing threat, as far as I know.
Their DBs were supposed to be like their strong suit, and they were horrible.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that Dallas defense made it look. They have some guys coming down the pike. I think Corey Ballantyne might be good eventually. Julian Love. DeAndre Baker, I have a lot of faith in.
I mean, O'Shane Examines too is supposed to be
right. O'Shane. Well, that was their guy to try to get a pass rusher, but he's a third round. He's a third round pick from Old Dominion, like playing a new position. He's going to probably take a minute.
Yeah, you go up and you see Ty and Secchi and just gets flat. Like, I mean, the Bills' offensive line was pretty good last week. I think that's underratedly what helped the Bills get back in the game and how good they were able to block in the fourth quarter and just like the devastating blocks we saw across the line. Like, right, like how good was the offensive line? I don't think I've heard it. I've just heard people like, yeah, it was like league average. I mean, Josh Allen got sacked once. Other than that, the offensive line was really good.
When they started doing different stuff in the fourth quarter and mostly stuff where you had more late developing plays and stuff that took longer, including the screen passes and, that throw to John Brown, that stuff really took some blocking and took Josh Allen hanging in there. And I think that they passed that test. There wasn't really much to say about the offensive line in the first half because they were doing this quick strike passing game that we weren't very used to, that didn't require a lot of pass blocking and didn't require any run blocking whatsoever because we didn't run the ball for the first 18 plays of the game.
Right.
So yeah, it was, I'd call it a performance that didn't require a lot, their best game of blocking. And you have to remember too, the Jets are a team that also don't really have pass rushers. And have really struggled finding that position. And then you have Quentin Williams, who, got picked ahead of Ed Oliver, who was out of the game after 23 plays with an injury. So I don't know if a lot got asked of this offensive line, and I'm not positive this game will either. I mean, they have some, BJ Hill, Delvin Tomlinson, Dexter Lawrence, they're some big boys, but they're not, you're not playing Fletcher Cox or Aaron Donald out there. That's not the type of the challenge that they're going to be having there. They're going to be playing big guys who are going to try to stuff it. I mean, man, we should really, the thing is though, I still don't have full confidence in this offense really getting something together yet because we didn't really see it save for 2 drives, but it's open for the taking. I mean, there's some holes
they could
here
come out and play a really good football game. And it's going to either be a game exactly like last week, like almost the same game, maybe minus a few of the turnovers, or it's going to be straight up a thrashing. So, I think that the Bills are that much. I mean, I've looked at rosters. I actually said the Jets rosters. I think the Jets roster is a lot better than the Giants roster. Now they've had these
for sure.
They have these injuries. Like I looked at the Jets defense, we had some pretty good defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people were optimistic about the Jets. I didn't share their level of optimism because, again, I just thought that the depth between our team and their team was markedly different.
That shows.
That's where starters go. I mean, they had a full defense. They have Le'Veon Bell. The receivers really are like a little underrated. But, and again, with the news of Darnold, Zamano, and Enunwa out for the year. What a weird story
with the mono. Like you played the game, then apparently you're the only one that got mono, which is a really highly contagious sickness for anyone that's never had it or doesn't know about mono. It's just like extreme. Like if you could be in the same room and I could catch it from you. It's a
I'm not
really,
a doctor,
yeah,
so I don't know.
I'm not a doctor either, but I know a little bit about mono. So really weird. The whole thing was weird. And then, as a Le'Veon Bell fan, it's older for him to have a shoulder after being fine on Wednesday. Really, it's a whole bizarre, Jason.
Yeah, I can make my first Jason prediction of the year.
What's that?
I don't think Adam Gase is going to make it past the end of the year.
Wow, he's gonna go one and done, huh?
I think he's going one and done. And you just look at because you just look at the difference. Because right now, the reason that people have such confidence in them is Sam Darnold and people's love for Joe Douglas, who I believe came in after Adam Gase, right?
Right.
As the GM. I don't think he's going to look at this as a fall guy. If they really have a really bad season, which I think things are leaning that way, especially with the way that their schedule is loading up right now. I mean, the AFC East might be really, really bad this year. And I think he's going to look at that and I just don't know who gets in an interview with Gase and is like, this is our guy to lead our team. Like, guy's a weirdo, like just a flat out weirdo, and doesn't, the biggest thing that Miami fans would say is that he just doesn't take responsibility for anything. And he's already pretty much doing that. I mean, just straight down to his like announcement of the mono is weird, where it was like the end of a press conference. He was just like, yeah, so 14's got mono, so Trevor's going to play this week, and we're going to call up Luke Falk. That was his announcement. It was a thing that nobody knew about ahead of time. Like, it was breaking the news, and he literally said 14 has mono. Trevor's playing this week. Like,
it's really
I
good,
don't know. He's going to be a fall guy because he probably should. And so not only is there a Joe Douglas aspect, who I think that's why people are so optimistic about them, is that he's roundly considered, a very good GM and has made a bunch of really good, effective moves for them and has probably put them in a good place. But the other thing is, like, if Sam Darnold, when he does play, looks any worse than he did last season, which, one game down he did, that's going to go on Gase, because people said that Gase was going to be the guy that was going to unlock him, and they gave him a kindergarten offense last week, and it didn't reflect well, and Sam Darnold's not going to progress, and the team's not going to progress like that. So, number one prediction on this Bills podcast, the Kevin and Jason show, not a Jets podcast, but we're making Jets predictions. Gase is getting fired before the Super Bowl.
Okay, there it is on the New York news front. Jason's got that. It does feel like the New York, New Jersey show, because we played back-to-back games in Jersey for the only 8th time ever, a team that has done that. So 2 teams that have won it have made the playoffs due to Jason's statistics. So there's that for everyone out there. Three
teams have won both games.
3 teams out of the 8?
Yep.
Wow.
Won both games, and they all went to the playoffs.
Okay, so we could be 4.
The Jets and Giants usually stink.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on which when the majority of those happened. Yeah, the Giants have a better chance to be good than the Jets do. So, but I mean, do please go out there and download the app. Cover1.net is sponsor of our show. We brought to you by them. Do great work. So please check out all of the other shows, download that app, and please premium content. All the great stuff now from the guys are in the Slack group. It's roaring. There's fantasy. There's live chats. There's footage of the live shows of the Cover One Buffalo show and other shows. So make sure you check out that at cover1.net and get that premium subscription. It's pennies. It's literally pennies. I think it does cost pennies to do. So make sure you take that moment to go ahead and check that out over there. So it's cover1.net as our main supporter here. Jason, any fun more news and nuggets? We're not going to, this is our last show before the game. Anything else to pop to the listeners that you had on your mind?
Nope, I can't wait to be 2-0.
Okay.
Going into the home opener.
Is Jason Shannon going to be there?
Huh?
Is Jason Shannon going to be at that game?
Oh, that's up in the air right now. We're trying. Okay. If it's worth it. I don't know. I could be so excited that I'm just going to end up going anyways, but I am actively seeking tickets. So I will put it that way.
There you go.
There is a decent chance you will see me.
add Jason to the if you have any ticket notes or nuggets.
Yeah, no, I'm still trying to catch Lou Bega and followers, so keep following me. I guess it's really hard because people started unfollowing me after I get that big rush of people, and it's just been
Yeah,
kind of like a cycle at the same number. So I'm not paying attention to it anymore, and then
yeah.
hopefully one day I just end up with 1,500. So
Okay, fair enough. Do subscribe to our show though. Does help us. Feedback would be great. Let us
absolutely
know.
subscribe. Yeah, that's the big thing. Subscribe on your Apple or your Spotify or your Stitcher or your Overcast or whatever. We go right into your feed as soon as we release a show, and then you don't even have to go looking for it. And follow the Cover One feed too, because they do awesome work there, and they'll put in little tidbits. And then also the show that Greg and Aaron do is very good, and get guests from time to time. And overall, I just think that the stuff that Cover One is doing as a whole, excluding us, but also we're pretty cool. They do a really good job. So those are my recommended follows. Us.
Definitely. We do actually, Jason, we do get a lot of, I know a lot of the YouTube channel too from Cover One. We get a lot of comments on there. I think people really, appreciate the content we bring. So once again, please, subscribe, do whatever you can to let us know your thoughts and feedbacks. YouTube usually has a roaring comment section. So make sure you get in there and get us some feedback to get the show to keep going. This is our 11th show now. And we really, once again, great, really looking forward to being able to have a chance to go 2-0. Your odds are exponential for the playoffs, especially with 2 road wins. I think the game is really important to come back 2-0 against a pretty decent Bengals, a little bit better than people thought. Although they might be coming in 0-2. Who do they have this week? They have Cincinnati plays the 49ers. Okay. Interesting. It'll be good gauge to see where they're at. Both are probably at the same point. So 49ers have a chance to go to 2-0 as well. So we'll see what Bengals team comes in, hopefully still without AJ Green. And we're going to preview that next week on the next week, Wednesday or Thursday show. And then our normal Monday show, recapping the game, going through some news and nuggets, anything special, any news. We'll bring you there on that Monday show. So we really appreciate everyone tuning into this. But from the Kevin and Jason show, I'm Kevin. That's Jason.
Thanks, guys.